Hey guys, today I want to do another episode of Why do the Pros Play This Character? And in this case, it's Kharazim. Why do the pros play Kharazim? And particularly, why do the pros play Kharazim in this build? And I want to explain that because I have a lot of people who often ask, hey, well, why is it that Kharazim has a higher win rate with his healing abilities, yet he's always picked with his Earth ally? And as well as his Iron Fist. And I get asked this so much that I want to put all that to end this, and I want to really explain why the pros go Iron Fist and Earth Ally, and why it's kind of the best choice to go, but at the same time, if you're trying to move up in ranks and you really like Kharazim, the others are not terrible options. But I want to explain this game. I'm going to show a pro game, with examples of why the pros always go Iron Fist and Earth Ally. So, why is it that this build is so common, and the only things that really change usually is if they want more damage, they go 7-sided and they go away the 100 Fists, but otherwise the build is essentially always this build. We saw 28 games with it on this area, and we saw 4 games with it in this patch. So, why is this build so common? Why are the pros always playing this build? What makes this build the reason people pick Kharazim? So the first thing that I want to explain is, while he's good on some maps, he's not always played on the maps you would think he's played on. For example, he's played on Battlefield of Eternity, he's played on Towers of Doom, Sky Temple. You can see the same thing. Dragonshire he's played a lot on, BOE, Sky Temple. So while he's best on BOE, he's still really good on a variety of other maps. The reason that he's often picked is actually for 2 other reasons, not just the map. While yes, he can help your team race more than most of the supports, he's actually picked for 2 things. He's picked against physical damage with Earth Ally, as he could reduce your entire team's damage by 50% if your entire team focuses on physical damage, or at least the majority of their damage. Of course, they have spells still here and there, but also for the multiple cleanses. Cleanse is kind of an ability that's falling off in Heroes of the Storm. Every time that a healer's reworked, they lose their cleanse. Morales used to have a cleanse. She doesn't have a cleanse anymore. Malfurion used to have a cleanse. He doesn't have a cleanse anymore. Every time they're reworked, they lose their cleanse. Well, Kharazim's one of the heroes that still has a form of full cleanse, which means a full unstoppable, compared to a little cleanse like Malfurion can cleanse, stuns and roots. So he can still cleanse, Kharazim can still cleanse everything. So against variants who have taunt, he can cleanse out of taunt. He can cleanse out of pulls, which not a lot of people can do. So, abusing the fact that you can reduce a lot of the enemy's damage, as well as the fact that you can give unstoppable, is still a main reason why Kharazim's played. Not always just a map pick. However, a lot of the reasons he's picked is for Battlefield of Eternity. So today I'm going to show you a game. It's a Blossom against Tempest. And this game was pretty interesting to me. Actually, before I go into this, I want to share another thing. People think that Kharazim's all about the damage, and I want to explain that you actually rarely get opportunities to do a lot of damage on Kharazim. And I wanted to show this game in particular and kind of show, so Team Freedom won this game, and yet they only did 7,000 hero damage with Kharazim and only 3,000 siege damage. The healing was pretty close to Rhaegar's. The damage is close to Rhaegar's. In fact, almost everything, you're wondering, why did Kharazim get played over Rhaegar when they essentially did the same stats? And that's what I really wanted to show was Kharazim is not a stats person. He's not always doing high damage or high siege damage or leading to a lot of kills. In fact, Rhaegar led to almost as many kills as he did, despite the fact that their team got more kills. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where they both didn't really do that much different from each other, except for Rhaegar has a slow, as well as a burst heal that can save people, while Kharazim has another option to save people after they die. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to share that it's not really a numbers game, and Kharazim doesn't get very many opportunities. In fact, if you usually see a Kharazim versus a Malfurion, Malfurion almost always does more hero damage. So if you are trying to play Kharazim as a character to carry your team, he might not actually be the best way to carry a team. However, he can be one of the strongest counter picks to enemy teams. So the first thing to know about Kharazim is he has 3 power spikes. He has a power spike at level 1, which is, most heroes don't have this. But at level 1, he's one of the higher damage dealers in the game, just because if you do get in a fight, he can do a lot of damage really quickly with his Iron Fist as well as his Deadly Reach. His next power spike is at level 4, which is one of his allies, usually his Earth ally. Again, against a Greymane, who does a lot of auto attack damage, a Hanzo who does a lot of auto attack damage, as well as an Uther who sometimes goes auto attack build, Earth ally can reduce a lot of their damage. Anubarak also has an ability where he can crit with his auto attacks later on if the enemies are slowed. So, Earth ally is a huge power spike, and his last power spike is at level 16. He has 2 talents that are the biggest power spikes. Giving 3 cleanses in short periods of time is huge, as well as the volley of blows, which for pro games, usually it's the cleanses that gets picked up. So we're going to skip forward to level 4. And you can see he's just playing safe early on. And I want to share kind of why the other talents are picked up. Every time that he goes in for a fight, I want to show you that his other abilities wouldn't have helped at all. If he was to jump on someone and do a quick burst of damage, burst healing yourself really quick isn't going to do anything. Burst giving yourself mana isn't going to do anything. But the damage is damage that sticks. Because he can always walk up here and heal. And then boom, he didn't need to use Transcendence. So I'm going to show every opportunity that Kharazim has to fight, and I'm going to explain why the other level 1 talents wouldn't be useful. And again, he just goes in and he heals. They didn't need the Transcendence healing. Do you see, like, he could have been just auto-attacking the whole time and healing everyone, but all it would have been is more stacks for Hanzo, more stacks for Uther. So you can't just sit in fights and continue attacking the entire time. So that's really where we wanted to get at is... sorry, someone was just right outside my window. A little creepy. Yeah, so the fights that you have, the opportunities that you have, you don't really need to ever have these other talents at level 1. And then here's another situation. He can speed up a camp with Iron Fists, or if you do a camp, you can do it safer with Transcendence. But do you ever actually need that? Watch how this fight goes out. Everyone takes a little bit of damage, and he does 1 W, and the orb is going to heal everyone back up to full. So you don't need Transcendence. His mana is becoming a little bit of an issue, but not really, so you never need mana either. The one time that he actually needs to get heals off, the ally is not even close enough to the enemies for him to get those heals off. So there's no point in going Transcendence in a pro game, because you're never going to have people close enough to where you can land heals. A quick fight here, again, Transcendence would have been useless, because everyone's full health. But instead, he was able to get some damage off. Now he's too low to get auto attacks off, so even if he did have Transcendence, there's no point. He might as well just recall. Or get a fountain. He's still too low to fight, which means that he's too low to heal himself. Transcendence is one of those abilities that's kind of a win more ability. If you're winning enough to where you can get auto attacks off for free, then it works really well. But at the same time, if you're winning enough that you can get auto attacks for free, that means you're closer to getting kills. Wouldn't it be better to get kills? That's where I'm really coming from. And I hear so many people talking about these level 1 talents. I'm just sharing that this is why you should do it. Now, in lower ranks, enemies are going to let you get attacks off more often. So it's safe to do this because you're always going to be out healing their damage. It's okay to do that. But in higher ranks, it's not going to happen. And that's why I'm explaining why pros never go the green build. They always go the orange build. So we're going to skip ahead to level 4. Level 4, he picks Earth Ally. Again, it's to reduce the damage that enemy heroes do. A lot of their physical damage. Even spellcasters do auto attacks in between their spells, so it's still good to get the physical armor over in case this was spell armor. I mean, if it was spell armor, it would be picked a lot of times too, though. And again, he's just helping speed this up. If he was in any other spec right now, Spirit Ally, for example, he wouldn't be doing anything right now. Or not Spirit Ally, Transcendence, he wouldn't be doing anything right now. He can keep everyone full with just Breath of Healing. Same with mana. I mean, what is he going to do? He doesn't need mana right now. He needs to speed up this objective, which is why this is still the best option for him at level 1. And it's not just on this map. You'll see these Iron Fist picked on every map. And just because there's an objective, you got to remember that it's also used for camps to speed up camps in between fights. Alright, so I want to speed up. I don't want this video to be as long as... let me just show this fight one more time. Well, I'm not going to rewind. Last time I rewind, it crashed. So I want to show, again, everyone's full health. If he was doing Transcendence, no one would have gotten any value out of Transcendence. If he was Insight, no one would have gotten any value off of Insight. But because he's Iron Fist, it leads to a kill. And a second kill. Possibly a third kill. And again, everyone here's still full health. If he was anything else, it would be useless. That is why pros don't pick these other talents. This is the last I'm going to talk about is for level 1 talents. Is purely every opportunity that you get to actually fight, you're not going to get enough value out of any of the level 1 talents. But if you're winning hard, you'll get value out of all of them. But when you're not in fights, the only one that actually gains value is Iron Fist. All the rest of them are essentially useless. Now, in lower ranks, you'll get a lot more opportunities to fight. And for longer durations, those are the opportunities where you want to use Transcendence or Insight. And Insight does the same amount of healing as Transcendence, essentially, because it's lowering the cooldown of your W really quickly. So, not essentially the same. It's still a lot lower, but it does improve your healing as well. So, in lower ranks, yes, you can get away with these. But this is why pros are picking Kharazim, is not for any of these. It's for Iron Fist to speed up camps and objectives, and then it's for the lower armor, or sorry, the increased armor, as well as one of these, usually Palm, and cleanses. That is why pros are picking him. Now I'm going to go through the rest of this game pretty quickly, and I'm not going to mention any of the level 1 talents anymore. You already know why the pros are picking those talents. Part of Kharazim and why the pros play him is not to jump in there and do a lot of damage. It's simply to play safe, keep everyone full health, and be ready to save an individual person. I want to show the stats really quick and just explain the damage. Kharazim is only at 5,000. While that's higher than a lot of the enemies are at, it's nowhere near his team's damage dealers. 8,000 on Thrall, 9,000 on Li Ming, 11,000 on Genji. He's nowhere near them. In fact, he's still always barely ahead of the tank. And his healing is only a little bit higher than Uther. So you can see that while a lot of people are afraid to draft someone like Kharazim, Uther, or Rhaegar because their healing is really low, you need to understand that they get a lot of their benefits from mitigating damage. So Kharazim mitigates damage with his Earth ally as well as with his Divine Palm. But he also mitigates damage by dealing damage to the enemies and scaring them away so they don't want to fight. If Greymane jumps in, Iron Fist is going to do half of his health. So Greymane's always afraid to jump in, so you're mitigating a ton of damage by just forcing the enemies into worse positions for themselves. Same with Uther. People are afraid to jump in because Uther can just stun them. So you're mitigating damage by just playing these heroes, as well as Uther he gives armor to his team. But yeah, so don't be afraid to draft people that don't have steady healing, as your team can play around them and you can still get in positions to where the enemies have a hard time dealing with your utility. I want to skip ahead to level 10 and explain again. He speeds up the camp so they can do it quickly before the objective. He speeds up the objective. They go on defense because they want to clear they want to defend this camp as well as they want to clear this camp. They get the second objective. Now, this is one of those choices in pro games that's a little bit risky. They wanted to soak, and they were afraid that if they soaked and the enemies didn't soak, then they wouldn't be able to win this win right here because it would be a 4v5. So they made the risk of sending Thrall down here, hoping that they would send their Dahaka or someone else down there as well, which they didn't end up doing. So they make some odd calls, but again, it's a pro game. They all know what they're doing. Again, here's another time. I don't want to talk about this again, but I'm going to talk about it one more time. Everyone's full health. What is the value of Transcendence? There's no value of Transcendence. He's full mana. What's the value of Insight? There's no value of Insight. But Iron Fist is getting a ton of value right here. That's why pros pick it. It gets more value than any of the other picks for more opportunities in the game. While the other ones might have a few opportunities that are really good, it just gets so much value. And if you want to do burst damage really quick, this one has the opportunity to do that. The other two don't. So let's say, for example, Hanzo gets a little aggressive here. He could be jumped on, followed up by a root, and it's an instant kill. But if you have your other talents, that might not lead to a kill. So if Thrall can land a root, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill. The objective's about to spawn. He's getting impatient. He probably is just going to, do some damage. But you can see if that was a root, would have been a guaranteed kill. Just the E and 1 Q from Thrall was enough to get him below half health. And again, everyone's full health and mana. You wouldn't have needed any of the other talents. But again, I'm done talking about level 1 talents. We're moving on. So the next real benefit from Kharazim is his level 13, his level 16, his level 7 all synergize really well. You can dash more often. Your dashes give yourself and another person movement speed, as well as they give the person you're dashing to unstoppable. You'll see that used quite a bit. Up here, Kharazim's pretty good at saving people if they're in awkward positions because you can always jump away. So likely what he's going to do in this situation is he's going to drop an Earth ally somewhere over here so that it can't be killed down here. He's going to let the Earth ally give extra armor to Tyrael so that Tyrael can jump out. If Tyrael happens to be silenced because he was silenced when he went into the cocoon, there's a chance, or if he just gets stun locked because they have a lot of stuns, there's a chance that he'll use Palm as well as a heal and then see if that gives Tyrael enough time to get away. So, like I said, he dropped down an Earth ally, and you can see the blocks already popping up. That's every time that you see a block, that means that it's reducing damage. You see all those blocks that are popping up? Again, he's reducing a lot of damage. He does Palm. He puts a Q on him, but it doesn't work. He wants to get some damage off while it's free because he can see where the stun is as well as he can see where the pull is. So it's a safe way to get some free damage off. When the pull gets closer to them, he needs to get away. So he's jumping away. Well, running away. He could have turned and tried to fight, but Dahaka was right behind him and could have just followed up with a CC. Because of that awkward fight in the beginning, they may lose this objective. And again, another situation, I keep coming back to it. What value would any of the other talents be? He was able to clear this wave that was pushing really quickly, which he wouldn't have been able to clear it that quickly with any of the other ones. And he's at full health and essentially, he's almost to full health and full mana. So it's like he doesn't need the other ones. So again, let me go back to Kharazim, and we're going to just jump ahead a little bit. Now he has the bonus movement speed, so you're going to see him start using Q on random people just to give them movement speed. Some quick damage, but nothing too crazy. When you're playing Kharazim, always make sure to use your W while you're near a lot of people. If they're spreading out, I recommend trying to wait until they cluster a little bit better because it is a 10-second cooldown. You don't want to waste that on a single person. If you're playing with a Kharazim, try to cluster up whenever you haven't seen him use a heal in a while. If you're playing with a Kharazim, or if you are a Kharazim and you're worried that people aren't clustering a lot, what I recommend doing is holding Alt and left-clicking your heal so that people know when you're about to heal, and then they'll cluster together. It works in Platinum or higher. It doesn't really work in Bronze. You link a heal, people don't know why you linked a heal in Bronze. Another objective where they just want to play safe. They don't want to risk anything too crazy. They already have the lead. They win fights. They don't really need to do anything here. Again, just speeding up camps. Speeding up the rate they clear camps. Okay, now's where the fun happens. This is the main reason why Kharazim's picked up in pro games, is mainly for this, Cleansing Touch. Now, the reason that this is so valuable is because Cleanse normally is a 45-second cooldown ability, and it cleanses for a decent amount of time. This is a shorter cleanse, but it also has a very low cooldown, a 12-second cooldown that you can store, well actually it's a 10-second cooldown because of the talent, that you can store 3 charges, meaning in 10 seconds you can do 3 seconds worth of cleansing, as well as, well I mean you could time it correctly and do 4 seconds worth of cleansing I guess, but essentially in a short period of time you can do a lot of cleansing, and you can stop things like, if you're really quick, you can do a cocoon right before the cocoon lands. You can do a... I don't believe you can cleanse isolation, but you can cleanse stuns, you can cleanse pulls, you can cleanse stuns again, and stuns. So against their team, a lot of their potential is on their CCs, and if their CCs are cleansed, it reduces a lot of their ability. So that's where the fun is. You're going to start seeing them use Q a lot to pre-cleanse, as well as to cleanse after CCs happen. Pre-cleansing is also something that people don't realize. It makes someone unstoppable, which means that not only do you remove CCs that were already on them, but you could also prevent CCs that are about to happen. What I would do sometimes is, and this is kind of a talent or a trick you can do with a lot of people, is if you are playing someone with a cleanse and you have an ETC on your team, what you can do is you can have the ETC use Mosh Pit, and then if the enemies only have like 1 or 2 things that could CC, you can watch as they're about to do that CC, and you can cleanse ahead of time, making them unstoppable, and it won't stop the Mosh Pit. And again, he's speeding up the race, something that not a lot of supports can do. As a fight's about to start, he does a movement speed buff to Thrall so that Thrall can get out safely. There's a drag on Tyrael. The drag will be followed by a stun, another stun, another stun, a cocoon, and possibly another stun. This is a dead Tyrael. Tyrael hasn't used Sanctification yet. So if they get a kill on Tyrael right here, they lose Sanctification, and they likely can win this objective. Cleanse goes off, which prevents the follow-up stuns, which allows the Sanctification to go off, which allows the Hanzo arrow to miss, which allows them to win the objective. He used movement speed to get Thrall into position. He used the cleanse to get Tyrael out of a bad position. His Q has so much utility. This is why Kharazim is played. Is early game, he has a lot of strength because of Iron Fist, as well as a lot of survivability because of Earth Ally. But late game, he has so much utility that he adds to his team by constantly giving them movement speed as well as unstoppable. Again, he's just playing safe. He doesn't need to push forward anymore. He's got his team for that. He can use his Q to pretty much save everyone. But this is how you beat a fight, or this is how you win fights or beat a Kharazim comp. You focus on him. If he's playing too aggressively, you win the game. So if he's playing safe, you have to play aggressive and be able to stop him. So now you've silenced him, and he can no longer give movement speed and unstoppable to his team. And what does that do? Leads to Thrall's death. You see, if Kharazim was okay there, not only would Thrall have been getting movement speed, which could have allowed him to position better, but Thrall also could have been saved by a Divine Palm. They decide to get out because they've already lost someone in the fight. It was a very good play by that Dahaka. Honestly, that Dahaka was the only reason that they didn't lose a keep right here. So speed up again, clear the wave, go for a camp. Kharazim's all about speeding up camps, speeding up objectives, helping his team clear waves. He's not the fastest wave clear. Rhaegar's a faster wave clear, but he does help speed up camps very quickly. Rhaegar speeds up camps with 3 or more people faster than Kharazim, but Kharazim does the 2-man camps really fast, as well as he's better at single target objectives and stuff. So they clear this out. He's just playing safe. Again, just a quick fight, a little bit of a race. They don't really want to race yet, and this is a big mistake that's made on Kharazim players, is they think, oh, well, I can race really fast because I took the damage talent and I've got my E, so I should be racing. You should be focusing on using your utility for your team first. Your race potential is not that great, and you don't want to be away from your team, because if they decide to fight, what's going to happen? Stun, pull, like double stun, pull, stun, you know what I mean? There's so many stuns, there's so much pulling. You need to be with your team. Just because you feel like a race hero doesn't mean you actually should be racing. So he focuses on defense. They don't send anyone to race because they want to see if they can win a fight. But what he does focus on is doing the camp. And this is something you can do. If the enemies are all on defense and you're all on defense, you can do a camp to try to split the enemies up. Kharazim can do camps pretty quickly, and with the assist of his team, he can down it really fast. So he downs the camp, he heals everyone. The enemies only get off a little bit of damage for that camp, so it was pretty worth it to do it, as this is now going to force the enemies to split up and likely will lead to the game being over. Again, he's just playing safe. Like, he could be jumping up there and dishing out some damage, but he doesn't want to. He wants to just make sure that his team's okay. He wants to make sure that he's in position to where he can jump to any team members if he needs to. Right here, Thrall needs movement speed, while Tyrael likely will need a cleanse. But Tyrell's still fine, so he'll likely just give the movement speed to Thrall, which he does. Now Thrall's out safe. Okay, so right there, a Hanzo arrow just landed. It was a pretty good Hanzo arrow, but it was followed up by 2 unstoppables. He jumped to Tyrael and then immediately jumped to Thrall. If he wouldn't have jumped to Thrall, likely Thrall would have gotten stunned twice by a Nubarok, and Thrall would be dead. Tyrael also could have likely been killed as well. So the quick timing of this allowed him to make them both unstoppable, and if he's worried about getting CC'd, he could always jump to Li Ming to get out. Both of them stayed alive long enough to where they could use their abilities and get out. He groups up with them right before he uses his heal. The utility that you get, again, from these Qs is incredible. Level 20, you can also get extra shields, so you can win in longer fights as well as burst fights. He goes in, gets some damage off, but again, he's focusing more on getting the cleanses off. So he goes in, and he gets a cleanse off on Tyrael, I believe? Yeah, on Tyrael. And then, again, he's stuck, but that's how you beat a team comp. If you're stun heavy on your team, the only way you're going to beat a Kharazim comp is purely by silencing him. But it doesn't work. He already got all of his cleanses off. He already had all of his abilities going, so that's how it went. Now, we don't need to really see the end of the game, but hopefully you guys kind of understand why the pros are picking Kharazim. It's not so that he can do the most damage in the game. In fact, his damage is nowhere near his assassin's damage. You can see all of his assassins are over 30,000 damage. He's sitting there at 10k. Like, he's not adding a lot of hero damage to fights. He adds a little bit in bursts here and there, but you really don't get that many auto attacks off. You don't get the opportunity to get a lot of auto attacks off. Kharazim is played by the pros because you can speed up camps, you can speed up objectives early game, making it easier for you to win objectives early game. You can mitigate damage, not just by Earth Ally, but also by dealing enough damage to scare enemies off, as well as the amount of utility you get from your dashes, giving unstoppable movement speed, multiple dashes, as well as a dash into Divine Palm, allows Kharazim to be one of the strongest heroes for countering teams that have a lot of CC. So you don't always need to pick him into a Battlefield of Eternity. You can simply just pick him into a team comp that has a lot of CC, and it's pretty much a free win. If you guys have any other tips you'd like to add for Kharazim, feel free to add them below. Thank you.